I'm a few weeks into my coding experiment, and yesterday and today I had the opportunity to do some pair programming with my sister, who is a professional programmer. And it was an awesome experience for me because it accelerated my learning and my progress on the practice problems by about maybe 3, 4, or 5 times, I would estimate. Instead of taking me 2 or 3 hours to get through 5 problems, it took me about 45 minutes or an hour today working with my sister. And it was so helpful to have her as a resource and as a teacher. So thank you, Jean, for helping me. And I really appreciate how she helped me in that she would very rarely tell me the answer unless it was something really basic that I was messing up. Like today, for example, I wrote a function that didn't work because in one instance I capitalized a letter that I should not have. And so that's the kind of thing that I'm not gonna learn. I don't need to learn conceptually. It's just a little mistake. And so she pointed that out. But in all the other instances, she took the time to guide me through a thinking process and help me get to the answer myself, which is hugely helpful for learning, and also forcing me to think through and talk through what I think the function should be doing when it wasn't working, and discovering why it wasn't working. So one thing that I noticed about myself as we were doing this process together is that I kept being embarrassed by all the mistakes that I was making, because I was making really basic mistakes. One time I did a if statement, and I needed to do it outside of a for loop, but I did it inside the for loop, so of course the function didn't work. Just really basic things where I was making conceptual mistakes and also just not thinking through carefully how the function is supposed to work. And I'm getting really embarrassed by these mistakes because, I'm used to feeling competent and smart, and my sister is quite intelligent and good at programming, and so I feel doubly incompetent and feeling just embarrassed. And I realized today, as I was journaling about the experience, that is a really big mistake that we often make, is we get embarrassed about our mistakes instead of being grateful that we're making them, because every mistake we make is helping us learn. And I think about all the interns that I've mentored and worked with, and watching them going through the same experience of making little mistakes that they were embarrassed by. And in some cases, they were so embarrassed that they were fixated on those mistakes and how stupid that they felt. And so they hindered themselves from learning because they were so caught up in processing the negative emotions associated with those mistakes that they weren't able to grasp the lessons and to get better as a result of making those mistakes. And the thing is, I'm in that situation right now where every mistake that I make, I'm getting kind of caught up in it. And so it's really interesting for me to have that experience, because I thought, having mentored a bunch of people, that I knew how this process goes. One of my mantras has been to be grateful for the mistakes that you make and to learn from them instead of being embarrassed by them, and I'm still making that mistake. So it just goes to show that you can understand this stuff intellectually, but if you don't practice it and live it every day, it doesn't change your life. So that's maybe one thing that I'm going to focus on tomorrow as I go through my exercises and I continue to make mistakes, is to just notice when I'm feeling embarrassed or feeling bad that I'm making these mistakes and beating myself up about it, and just processing that emotion and letting it go so that I can accelerate my progress instead of getting caught up in the negative emotions.